Hi, everyone. We have got a book to launch here today called States of Mind by Lachlan Stuart. Welcome, Lachlan.
Thanks so much, Susan. I'm very excited for this. I can't believe the time has come.
I know it's been an amazing journey, but not as big as your journey, which has been obviously your book State of Mind is around surely the book couldn't have been as hard as writing as running, as I said, 58 marathons across 58 states and territories in the US and Australia. How did the idea come about and what was driving you to take on such a challenge as big as this?
It's funny the comparison between writing a book and doing the marathons. I've seen the work that your team's put in, and I'm like, well, it's kind of challenging. So it could be on par, just in different ways. The idea for the 58 marathons came. My wife and I were living in Nashville, Tennessee, and we'd moved over there for her music career. And unfortunately, I wasn't on a working visa. So what happened for me is I'd fly back to Australia every quarter to run workshops. And during that time, I had a lot of downtime and I started feeling sad because I wasn't pushing myself and I wasn't chasing that potential. My wife noticed that and she actually called a lot of my friends at home and put together all these videos from my buddies and put it on a USB stick and gave it to me. And it really pulled me out of a bit of a rut. And it just reminded me that I'm my best self when I'm chasing things. And just because my circumstances have changed and I can't work in the way that I normally would, I can still do things, right? I still have value outside of that. And it's funny, I was scrolling Instagram and I stumbled across the 50 States Marathon Challenge. It's a challenge that many athletes spend their entire careers trying to achieve. And I saw that and I was like, that sounds cool. I can run. I was like, I wonder if anyone's done it in 50 days. And I saw that two people in history had. And I was like, okay, well, what about winter? And I saw that no one had done it in winter. And I was like, perfect. That's going to be my next thing. And I joked about it to my wife because we were in bed at the time. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, I could put Australia into it and do something that no one has ever done. And I'd love to finish in Australia. And then the idea came from a friend because I was spitballing with friends. And they're like, you could tell a really cool story here. If you ran in winter and then summer, you're going to experience all seasons and all terrains. And that is what it's like in your head sometimes. Sometimes you're in winter where you don't feel like getting out of bed, you don't feel supported, you don't feel worthy. And then I also got to experience summer where it's like you're around all your buddies, everything you do is winning and you do feel great. And I could show the polarity of that while trying to achieve one goal because many of us set a goal and we just think it's all winning or it's all losing. But as I'm sure the audience knows, you go through all seasons in very short or long periods of time. And that's when it came to be. And I pitched it to my wife. Initially, she was like, hell no. And then she came around. She said to me, one of the best things, it taught me a powerful lesson about marriage was she just said, firstly, you're driving me insane talking about it, but she said, it would be hypocritical of me to expect you to move halfway around the world to support my dreams and for me not to support you with yours. And that was like that permission. And then, yeah, just steamrolled off the back of that.
That's amazing. Wow. Gosh, when I'm feeling a bit lonely, I don't think that I put my hand up to run 58 marathons, but that is amazing. And what I love about that is it really is when you take on such a challenge like that, you don't realize the impact that I suppose it's going to make in all areas of your life. And like you said, your state of mind. And you reference that back so beautifully. We do have summer, winter, but we're running in extreme heat or it's going to be harder or extreme cold than it is. And what does that teach you in your mind? And like you said, even bringing that back to family, where your wife was like, you're supporting me, I'm supporting you. And I think that everything we do, it's all related in one way, shape, or form. And we don't even know what we set out to do that can make such an impact. And I know that you had a injury really early on. What was the mindset shifts that you had to make to kind of get you through? And how did that serve you throughout the rest of your journey and maybe life?
Yeah, it's definitely I almost call it like I backed myself into a corner, meaning I had committed to raising $100,000 for an important charity, the Mental Awareness Foundation. I had a great team of sponsors who were giving me the opportunity to do that. I had friends who'd given up time with their families, time at their jobs to support me to do that. And I was spending a couple of months away from my wife while we were doing IVF. So I had a lot of pressure on my back. And it's cliche to say it's one of those sink or swim moments. And I had probably 23 hours and 59 minutes a day where I was thinking about quitting. And that 1 minute that would pull me through. And I think when I got injured, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. And the negative voice on my head, the one that was just like, you don't deserve to do this. You're a pretender. Who are you to think you could do these things? Got so loud. But I had this split moment. It was almost like a cold breeze hit me when I was walking around this oval that it's like, Lockie, you chose to do this. And now that the pressure's on you and potentially things aren't going to go your way, you're looking to blame everyone else and you're looking to say, poor me, help me. When in reality, this is what you wanted. This is the opportunity for you to choose to either be the man that you said you could become and you know you can become, or you can take a step away from that. And the thing about choices, and this was the most powerful lesson I learned on the trip, was that they always have consequences and you got to live with those consequences. And I didn't want to live with the consequence that I wasn't the man who took that extra step to become the guy that I wanted to be. Because for me, since I met my wife, I've always wanted to be a bloke that I would have loved to have been fathered by. I've got an incredible dad, but I wasn't proud of myself for a long time. I went through some tough times, as most of us do. And I was just like, what's that version of me look like? And if I had a son or a child, who would they be proud of and who would I want them to see? And that was what pushed me through in those tough days, in the days where it was freezing out, my ankles were the size of my knees. Yeah, you just didn't know what was going to happen. People were saying you've got stress fractures and nothing's guaranteed. And that's what makes it harder. If I knew that if I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, I would finish, and technically I would, but I didn't know whether injury or hypothermia or any of that was going to get me. So it was just a risk that I wanted the upside of being the man that I knew I could be.
I love that. And I haven't done what you've done, but I did ride 800 kilometers in Thailand from Bangkok to Phuket. And I can tell you it was definitely not the body, because this wasn't made for Lycra. It was definitely the mindset that got me through and the learnings that I got from that. But I think the point that you made that is so important, and I know was important to me, it becomes not about you. It becomes about the children that we were helping. It becomes about the message that you get to share with others around this mindset. So becomes about those children that in the future that you want them to look up to. So when it doesn't become about you, you get this strength. And that's what I love about this book that you've pulled together. It's all these experiences, but it's so much more than just talking about what you did. It's these states of minds that we can start thinking about ourselves when we get stuck in those places. How do we push through, whether that be injury and so forth? And I know that you did many, 58, but out of all those states of minds you experience, which were your favorite and maybe your not so favorite, and why?
The favorite for me looking back was definitely the state of desire, which was the initial planning. So this trip, this adventure took 14 months of training, planning, logistic management, all of those sorts of things. And I look back now, I just went all in on it. And I had my brother-in-law who was instrumental in helping us pull it together. He's a wizard with logistics. But it would have been very easy for me to just say to my wife, I want to do this, and then not follow through on it. Because look, I'll put my hand up. There's things in life where I do that. But I went all in on this, and it was just that state of desire to pull myself out of a rut and to really keep pushing to see what I was capable of. Because if I look back, I had gotten complacent. My life was very different to where it was a decade ago when I was trying to change things. And not that that's a bad thing, but I just noticed that if I'm not pushing myself and challenging myself, I do get in ruts. And that's just, whether it's how I'm wired or how I think, that's just me. So having that state of desire and then actually making it happen. And we had a sold out documentary 2 nights in a row in Brisbane last week, and looking at hundreds of people in the room who were inspired by it and came out to support, you just go, well, this all started as an idea that no one pushed me to do. It was just this feeling inside me that I was here for more. And we had a great story to tell, and we had money that could be raised for an incredible charity. And every single day, that desire was what made me get up and do the things I needed to do and make the sacrifices to make that a reality. So I look back at that and I just go, well, wow, how cool. But then a state of belonging in Nashville was phenomenal because had obviously been living in Nashville. That was day 35. So we hadn't really been around a lot of people. It was just the core group in the van. And to rock up to Nashville and have heaps of your buddies there, such a social one. We went to the hockey after. Like it was just a good day to break up the trip. So I really loved that. A state of regret. Well, that was day 2 when I knew that I was the reason I got injured. I don't want to give too much away for everyone so they can read the book or watch the documentary, but it was my own stupid mistake trying to prove myself to the people on social media who were doubting me, which I injured myself. And I just remember waking up that day and for the next couple of weeks just being like, you dickhead, this didn't have to happen if you just put your ego aside. So there was definitely some regret there. And that was one
But
of
what a lesson, what a mindset lesson. You can relate that back to what you did, but like how often in life do we do things that we regret trying to prove something? So again, bringing that back to the mindset is incredible. And that's why with the book, you're not just hearing about the journey, you're really starting to reflect for yourself some of the mindsets that you can relate to. And I know that you and your wife have had a beautiful baby boy.
we did it.
Yes, which is beautiful and amazing. How did running the challenge shape you into the father you are now? I know that you mentioned that what kept you going was essentially who you wanted your future son and that to be looking at, and you must be super proud and something that you're leaving as a legacy and things that he can read and watch. But how did this challenge shape you as a father, you now and maybe even in the future?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I thought we were going to have a girl. We didn't find out until the day. And then when I had a boy, I was like, oh my God, how cool is this? I would have been stoked every way. But to now look at it like every moment of adversity is testing your character. And I'm a big believer that who you are under pressure and how you react or respond is who you really are. And my wife asked me, we had a 7-year date. We were dating for 7 years before we got engaged. And she's like, why did it take so long? And I was like, I just wanted to know that I was the man that I am proud of. And I needed to face some adversity and I needed to go through some hard stuff to actually see whether it was a facade or not. And when you're going through those moments, I had a team around me and there was moments where I wanted to blame them and I wanted to snap, but I didn't. And it was just these constant small confidence builders that I was the man that I believed I was, even under immense pressure and with so much pressure. We had 4 million people watching us. We had obviously a huge, I thought it was a ginormous fundraising goal. So I had a lot of pressure on my back. And the fact that I still maintained who I think I am as a bloke, I'm so proud of that. And I know that when young Freddie reads my book, and if we have another kid reads the book or watches a documentary, they'll be proud of them too. And I just knew that this was the battlefield, and this is where I get to prove who I am, who I say I am.
Yeah, and so much learnings, like I said, for them from the journey that they can get out of this. What's just and you mentioned before about a documentary, and we will have a link below or a link in the comments that allows people to purchase the book. Obviously, it's all on Amazon and your major bookstores, but we'll also have a link down there for anyone that wants to come along. There's a documentary coming out. You've done some launches. We've got one coming out in Melbourne, and then we will put that link in there for anyone that wants to come along. But if readers were to go away with just one thing, I know, look, there's a lot to read in this book. So I know that I'm pushing to ask one thing because there's so much that you can get out of this book. Well, but what's one mindset shift you would like readers to walk away with?
I think you're capable of more. It's very cliche, but I know that what people will take away from the book is anyone who has a dream, and we all have them, that if you just back yourself and put one foot in front of the other, your life can be drastically different in 12 months' time. And I didn't do it by myself. I've got a lot of great people around me. And I think that when people walk away with that, they're going to be fired up, just going, okay, I believe I'm capable of more. Let's go see what it is.
Love that. So, states of mind, it's so much more than just the 58 states and the marathons that you did. And there's so much in there for readers. Come along to the documentary, read the book. Thank you so much, Lachlan, for trusting us in your amazing story. And I know so many people are going to get so much out of this book, and what an exciting thing to watch the documentary as well. So thank you for coming with us. Like I said, all the links will be there. And thanks for sharing your amazing journey with us.
Thanks for being part of the journey. It's been an absolute pleasure.